Hello friends and welcome back to my shop. In last week's video, I alluded to the fact that I'll be making these pocket clips out of round. That has since changed. The reason I was going to make it out of round is I can get round titanium at a fairly inexpensive price. I mean, inexpensive in titanium land, but it's workable with me. I could not get plate stock in the quantities I need for these pocket clips at a reasonable price. That has since changed. I was able to find a vendor that would deal with me in my smaller quantities. So I can machine these from plate stock, which is way easier because I have that already dialed. The work holding is so much more simple, and it works with my existing soft jaws. So I can push that away now. That's one less thing off my mind because that was annoying. The next thing, the body on these pens. These ones are stainless. Eventually, they'll be titanium. I use rod, and then I drill it out to make it into tube. I do that so I can control the inner diameter to exactly what I want. And once again, finding titanium tube in the sizing I want, also another issue. So we're going to fight with titanium way down the line because that's a whole new kettle of fish. But the stainless, what I've been doing is deep drilling it. So I basically just take the rod and I drill it through and then I ream it and you get a beautiful mirror finish inside. You get a beautiful mirror finish inside tube that works perfect for my purposes because now I know exactly what the inside diameter is. The only problem is that's manual and I have to do it on my lathe and my lathe doesn't have a lot of power and it actually takes me a significant amount of time just to drill this body out, and that's the next most complicated thing in the pen, the most time consuming bit. So I'm so slowly going through every part that takes more effort and trying to find ways to do it better, especially if I want to start making these in larger quantities. Figured out a way. The easiest way to correct for this was to put the drills into my mill block and further take away more lathe work from my lathe. The two holes that I have, or the two drills that are sitting in the gang block, were drilled off camera, and basically they have fixture offsets so that I can program the mill to move between them accurately and I don't have to switch drill bits every time. Here I'm using the quill because I'm just trying to do everything manually and get a feel for how everything's going to work out. But what I'm doing there is the first drill just clears the web for the second drill, which is the pre-ream diameter drill, and then after the fact, I still went on my lathe and did the reaming, but there's no reason I couldn't add a ream to this and put another fixture offset in and completely automate it. So due to the length of this hole, I basically am drilling halfway through on one side, flipping the stock around and doing the other half. It just keeps drift down to a minimum and gets me a nice accurate hole on both sides. Here I'm just switching the offsets that I have saved in the computer. The machine switches to the next drill cycle, and I can just carry on forward. The biggest issue I'm having right now is bird nesting. If I drill hard enough, I can basically get the chips to come down and move away, but since there's so many things blocking the flow of chips, I'm getting bird nesting here and there, and while I could edit it out and make it look like I know exactly what I'm doing, that's not the case. More often than not, I'm just kind of coming against little issues like this, always just trying to work my way around. Lots of ways I can get around this. I can peck drill it, and especially moving to CNC, there's a lot better options, but doing it by hand, this is the result. So once the hole's made, the next thing I'll do is I'll come back with the stock in the quill, and I'll go with my threading tool, we'll skim the inside, and then we'll do the full threading operation, and that threads the back end for the cap that holds the pocket clip in place. This is a fun part where I use a bunch of different offsets on my fixture, and that's turning the tip of the stainless bodies. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it, we're going to come down to the insert turning tool, and it's going to turn the outside diameter. Turning it quite aggressively so you can see it's getting a little hot. Nice coolant blast would be helpful. Comes in with the parting tool, and that takes the fillet out from the rough turning tool, or the finish turning tool, because it has a radius at the end. Next, it drops back to my external threading tool, and it'll put the external threads on it. And then it'll come forward back to the parting tool, and that'll just put the Higbee on the end of the thread, taking off that sharp tip. That's it. And then I drop the titanium tip on it just to double check, and everything fits perfect, and it's done that for the entire batch, which is awesome. This is the tip turned out of titanium. I'm getting a bunch of bird nesting here. You can see I'm actually using a stepped rough turning operation to try to cut down on that bird nesting and changing my air blast, but is what it is right now. The tolerances are really tight in there. I mean, the space between all the tools. Bird nesting titanium is kind of scary because titanium can light on fire, so it's something I'm working to try to fix. lets me get it out of the way before coming in and doing the final profile. And there are very tight clearances here. The edge of the collet there is barely missing the gang tool block, so I'm happy this works. And that's a nice thing about CNC. If it works once, it'll usually work a bunch of times. I'm super, super happy with the finish coming out of these tips. Basically no hand finishing required. The taper's perfect, nice and smooth, mirror finish, just gonna work perfect for tumbling. This may not sound like much, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal in my world. So these bodies, they're basically just ready for the grips and the J slots now, and then finishing and all the fanciness I do to it. But they're threaded, they're bored, and they're threaded on both ends. This is technically number 2 in my little production run here, and this is its mating cap. And it fits perfectly. That's exactly how the first ones were. They had mating components and I built them together, and I built them so they all fit together. However, if I go a few numbers down, this is like 4 or 5 versions away that came off the mill, it also fits on perfectly. And then if I also go further down and pick another one, it also fits on perfectly. That took me more work than I thought it was going to take. And I mean, when I built my first batch of pens, they were all very close. They all fit, like I could basically do the same game. But some fit better with other pens, and there was slight tolerance issues on my lathe. And I mean, we're talking small amounts of different, like we're talking thousandths of an inch. A hair is about 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch. In these threads, 1 to 2 thou can make a pretty discernible difference in how they screw together. So I'm trying to get that balance of between a nice tight fit and then something that's not going to cause issues down the line. The fact that I got this nailed across the batch is awesome. It makes life so much easier. Now when I go through tumbling and finishing and anodizing, I don't have to be so persnickety about which part goes to which pen. They all fit perfectly. So that's awesome. So that's the end for this week. I have tons of work to do right now, so I'm going to get back to doing that. The draw from last week, for the people that put in the comments, I'm trying to give people as much time as humanly possible, so Kurt will splice in the winner right now. Alright, let's use the random comment picker machine here. We got the video loaded, gonna load up all the comments, and click to see if we can pick a winner. And of course, it's a good friend of mine. He requests not to win, so hey man, you ever want one of these? Just hit me up. I got a few spares. Let's pick a new one. Someone that wants to win. Brian Goodman! Brian Goodman, you win! Hit me up, email me or message me, get me your info, and I'll get a bracelet sent out to you. Thanks again for everyone who played. Till next time. Back to other Kurt. Congratulations to whoever won. I have no idea who you are, because Kurt will figure that out when he does the final edit to upload this thing. And that's the end of this week. I will see you guys next week. Have a merry, happy, whatever, and a good new year, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.